Diddy Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Zyman, your State Farm insurance agent. Scott can help you save money bundling your home and auto insurance. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Zyman and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. For delivery or pickup, call 815-758-8116 or go to pizzavilla.com. My Insurance Guys in Sycamore, family owned, local, reliable. My Insurance Guys cover Medicare to auto and everything in between. Call us in Sycamore at 815-899-0950. My Insurance Guy, business, auto, home, life, and health at myinsurancegyguy.com. And Elder Services of DeKalb County, safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay at home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org.
Also brought to you by Blue Silo Orchard. Blue Silo Orchard would like to invite you to their orchard at 19387 Tower Road in Rochelle. You can find us on Facebook at Blue Silo Orchard for up-to-date hours. We now have a variety of apples and pears and along with pumpkins and even some sunflowers left. You can find us on Facebook at bluesiloorchard.com. That's bluesiloorchard.com.
Welcome in to TD Ryan Unleashed, podcast number 29, as we're going to talk to Carmen Polvere. Carmen is running for the District number 2 in the, say it again? Am I back on that?
The DeKalb County Board, District 2 seat.
That's right. And we welcome Carmen. We're glad to have you here. And, I saw this article in the Daily Chronicle back on August 1st. Sycamore man to run for DeKalb County Board wants to shake up how the county reviews contracts. Tell us about it. What do you mean by that, Carmen, when you say you want to shake things up?
Well, what I'm looking at is an experience in manufacturing spanning over 40 years where we always looked at ways to do things better. And that included ways of ensuring that vendors were coming to our table with the right pricing, if you will. And what I would like to do is share my experience with the DeKalb County Board in terms of a lens, if you will, on how to make things better, how to make things better tomorrow, what we're doing today. I have a strong background in lean manufacturing. Basically, it's just ways of a lens, if you will, looking at ways of improving, streamlining budgets, contracts, and basically, I want to share give back to the community, if you will. I also have a degree in political science, which I think finally will come in handy.
I was going to say, you waited a long time for that.
Yes, I did.
Well, I should point out that Carmen worked for McGovern back in 1972.
Yes, I did.
Let's talk about where District 2 is, because I'm still learning where these are. Okay. I'm in over there by Little John School, and I tried to look up who my county board representative was. I don't know who that is, but the district includes Genoa Township and the northern half of Sycamore Township. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay.
It's precincts 3 and 7 in Sycamore, and then you just drive 5 minutes to the north on 23 there, and then you run into Genoa 1, 2, and 3 precincts.
Okay, and then you have two members for each district. What are your thoughts about that? I was asking you off the air about the fact that there's 24 representatives in the county board. Is that too many people to work with? They're a pretty harmonious group. They work together, but overall, when you look at their overall responsibilities and what their duties encompass, I believe one person per district is sufficient. And has that ever been proposed, or what would that take? I don't
I don't know. I have not. I've gone into the minutes of the last 3 years just to see how well they're working together and what they're addressing. They're a hardworking group, pretty harmonious, but as far as what the sizes were in the past, that I couldn't. I have to do a deep dive into that.
Okay, well, I was impressed that you went back and looked. You said they read the minutes from the last 3 years.
Yes.
The county board. And
yes.
I hope you drank a lot of coffee.
Well, I did.
I did. It tends to be a little dry read.
Well, it is, but you know what? They came across that they do work hard. If he does run, there was some question. I'm not sure if I haven't met him. I've heard good things about him. Patrick's been there since 2020. There was some doubt if he's running again. I won't be sure till the filings are done, but I looked to see what he voted on and how different than I voted. And I only found just
not to stop you, Carmen, we should point out Patrick Deutsch. Is that right? I'm saying that right? He's a Republican who currently holds that seat, and his term expires on November 30th, 2026.
Yes.
And so you're running for
that seat.
For that seat, okay. Yeah. And he has not yet committed still whether he's going to run or not?
I just what he said in the article about he was still trying to decide.
And you've been working with Kathy Lampkin, who just got reelected. Kathy, a Republican, you called her a dynamo off the air.
Well, yeah, she's pretty active in the community, and I really couldn't find any votes that I differ with her on.
Is that right? So I was asking about the Democrat-Republican thing, because we're so polarized now.
Not so much on that board.
Okay.
They're pretty harmonious, and there's only a couple. The only major instance where there was a division was, and Democrats voted for it and Republicans voted for it, was keeping the nursing home viable and keeping it public. And basically, the deal fell through. They all agreed to sell it, and the deal fell through. But when it came to the actual sale, it was a pretty close vote. Some Democrats voted for selling it, and some Republicans voted for keeping it. And
it's a very emotional issue.
It was, but they got a handle on it now. They worked really hard to get things together. They got an oversight board, and it's like things are going pretty good for them. I don't know if you could make a public held nursing home a for-profit entity, but they are working hard to keep the cost down.
Right, and that's where you come in again with the contracts.
Again, that's where I would come in with that, and I would be looking at other contracts too that DeKalb County has, and looking for ways, cutting them if we will, cutting costs, and directing some more funds if needed to the nursing home.
Yeah, we had this at Wellington Webb back when I was on the radio station, and he was, first of all, he was defining the DeKalb County government, which is a little confusing. Now, there's a lot of committees, aren't there?
Yes, right.
Each member, so we have 24 members. Each one is at least on one committee, is that right?
Two.
Two committees, okay. So I imagine you guys accomplished a lot that way. So I thought we'd go through with some issues. I typed in, I don't like the artificial intelligence, all that crap, but I typed in, what is the most important issue facing the DeKalb County Board in 2025? And it got me this. Includes financial stability of the DeKalb County Rehab and Nursing Center, which is a significant budgetary concern. The broader issue of managing county finances amidst inflation and potential federal funding cuts, which we know that's happening. And other key challenges, including improving rural community vitality through the infrastructure. I want to ask you about that, Carmen. And social connections, managing county-wide public safety concerns, and addressing staffing and safety issues. But the big one is the County Rehab and Nursing Center, because, we were out there with the radio station when they added on the rehab center. It's a beautiful facility there, but it's only good if people are using it now. Is that part of the plan, is to generate money that way, right, Carmen? Because people would pay to use those facilities.
Absolutely. Getting the word out that it is there, and it is a good place where you want to put your parents or siblings.
Mm-hmm. And how do you go about that? How do we go about? Let's go with some of the issues they're talking about here. The center is a major financial challenge, ongoing operation losses despite attempts to make the Jordan plan successful. Do you know what the Jordan plan is? What is that about?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
The budget for FY 2025 allocated funds to cover projected losses, but the long-term plan to cover debt remains uncertain. So essentially, the nursing home was operating at a loss, right? As far as I know.
That's correct.
And as far as we know right now,
it is still running at a loss, but okay. It's a lower figure.
And of course, you have inflation and federal funding, so you got to factor it in. Again, that's when your experience comes into play, doesn't it, Carmen? Because we don't know how to factor in for inflation, and of course, the lack of federal funding as well.
That's correct. And again, it's about looking at every single way you possibly can through a lens of continuous improvement, how to not only as a functioning DeKalb County government, but how the vendors who come to the table, how are they doing? How are they managing their business? I've been in situations in manufacturing where customers required us to use Lean Six Sigma, if you will, to have people on your staff as certified Six Sigma black belts. In the later part of my career, that was introduced to me, and I got my Lean Six Sigma black belt, my certified Six Sigma black belt.
Yeah, I was going to say that for later, but what do you mean by you're a black belt? Are we talking about karate? Are we talking about?
No, we're talking about a way of management methodology that is basically found its origins in the Toyota production system, and then got adopted by out of Motorola in the 80s, and adopted by General Motors, if you will. Ways of just doing things better. A team-based approach, because when you get down to brass tacks, who knows better how to do the job than the people who are working it?
Right,
yes. Yeah. And again, that kind of in some ways, when I looked at the 2025 budget and how they went about cutting their costs, they got ideas from the people in the office on how to streamline some of the costs. I was pretty impressed with that. That was one thing that jumped out at me. So they don't call it that, but they're using team-based approach to find ways of cutting costs. And that's what I do.
I was just watching something on the History Channel about Henry Ford. And Henry Ford did just that. He listened.
You could go back to him if you want to.
He listened to the people that went on the line and made those improvements according to them.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And basically, in Six Sigma history, they mentioned Henry Ford and his improvements on and making things efficient on the production line.
Now, why is it called Six Sigma? Does that have to do with the?
It's about basically the amount of errors, if you will, parts per million. How many defects parts per million? And you go to 0.000 to the sixth. That's why it's called Six Sigma.
Okay.
It basically, you're looking at eliminating defects, and you're also looking at, by eliminating defects, you're also looking at ways to improve what you're doing.
Okay. Now, your history, again, you have a lot of manufacturing history.
Yes, 40 years.
Consumer goods. There was one, Chiquita Fresh Express, you worked for, Little Lady Foods.
Yes.
I like that name. My favorite one was it Newlywed Foods or
Newlywed Foods, yes.
Now, tell us about that.
Newlywed Foods, I was there
for
the first 6 years. Basically, back then, and they were located, they still are, but they were in a neighborhood in the west side of Chicago. A friend of mine introduced me to them because I started out basically get out of school working with community newspapers and journalism for youth groups that worked with street gangs. But the funding ran out. I needed a job, had a family to support, so I got involved in manufacturing.
What were you trying to accomplish with the youth groups? What a great thing to do. It's a shame.
Well, it was called Build Incorporated. They are still around. What they do, and they've done when I was there, is basically provide activities, baseball leagues, basketball leagues, positive activities that will enhance their self-esteem. My job was to take kids and teach them how to write so they could write about their basically their
anything, right?
Anything.
As long as they write, right?
Yeah, as long as they could write about their activities on the teams. And I also put together a training program with the union printers to introduce those kids to print shops in Chicago.
Okay.
And that worked out pretty good, but our funding was cut. And it was the early Reagan years, and there's a lot of that. So I transitioned to manufacturing, and basically for 40 years never looked back.
All right, well, that was a very good thing that you were doing there. That's great. Now, let's talk about your early years. What about now? You grew up where? Now, did you grow up here in this area?
Humboldt Park in Chicago.
Okay.
And my wife Holly, she's from Bucktown. We went to school together. Like we were talking about a little bit earlier. I went to Murray Tully High School, which became Roberta Clemente High School. A year after we left there.
So you were a city kid going to a city high school?
Yeah. We grew up in Humboldt Park. We raised our kids in Glendale Heights and Schaumburg. My son Jeremy's a firefighter lieutenant with Schaumburg Fire Department.
God bless him.
And our oldest boy moved on to Wisconsin. He runs his own trucking firm, basically hauling cars from Milwaukee to New Richmond, Wisconsin.
All right.
The cool part about that is we talk to him every day on the road. So we never lose touch with Brian. So that's kind of cool. I'm like his logistics guy telling him the best way to get to where he's got to go.
He's got this old man's work ethic, too.
Yes, he does.
Acorn doesn't fall apart from a tree.
Yes, he does.
Well, I was a journalism minor in school, and I see here you were managing editor of your paper back in the day. You were editor-in-chief.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I was.
You were very active.
Yes, I was. I was in high school journalism. I was the Chile Review was called. I was in '72. I was assistant sports editor. Became sports editor in '73. Managing editor in '73. Editor-in-chief in '74. Along the way, I was sent to some journalism workshops at the University of Minnesota over the summer.
Is that right?
I tell you, I attended a couple of those and fell in love with the school and decided to go there. Back in those days, if you came from impoverished background, the government would pay your way to go to school in order to basically break that cycle of poverty, if you will.
Right.
So I took advantage of it. The government basically paid my way through college.
That's great.
And we took advantage of all the grants and loans, and basically decided on political science. And again, when you get out of there, manufacturing doesn't really require it, but I've always been interested in government and politics, and along the way there too, I was a student volunteer coordinator for McGovern in '72.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. Now tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Oh,
Because,
gosh,
I first voted in 1980 was my first.
Yeah.
John Anderson.
Basically, it was a dime. My mother wouldn't let us have a phone unless we paid for it, so went on the corner of Armitage and Albany, put that dime in the phone, found out where the McGovern headquarters was. Next thing I know, I've got 300 buttons. I'm giving 20 high schools in Chicago to recruit volunteers from. When we were finished, we had 200 volunteers.
Wow.
20 high schools. It was great, and also along the way, you're on the lines of the factories, basically giving them coffee and donuts at 3 a.m. That was only like 16 years. And I'm falling asleep in class.
I was going to ask you how old you were.
I'm getting called to the principal's office while I'm falling asleep in class, and the guy talked to me was Republican, very, very pro-Nixon. So those were a couple of conversations, but
that was a volatile time. I mean, there was 1972. That was Nixon had was going to get reelected. We know that now in hindsight, but at the time, obviously Bobby Kennedy was going to run, and my parents were so upset when Bobby got assassinated, as many Americans were.
I was a patrol boy at elementary school on Ohio and Levitt there, and the day he perished, the guys on the corner, that's where the street gang guys hung out. The tough guys cried then.
Right. Is that right?
Oh yeah, the tough guys cried. It was a very emotional time for us when Bobby passed away.
He was so charismatic. If you go back and look at the video of Bobby Kennedy when he was campaigning, people were hanging on him like he was Jesus Christ. I mean, it was just amazing stuff.
It was an amazing time. I put up some signs for Humphrey Muskie for the precinct captain.
Yeah, so why not Humphrey? Why McGovern? And of course, then you had Eugene McCarthy in the mix too, right?
But basically in '68, the way the structure was for the Democratic Party was, it was the bosses that called the shots, and Humphrey had the votes, and he had all the delegates. And that's why Humphrey was nominated as the vice president, nominated. And
he was not pleased this much.
Johnson wanted him. That was pretty much it. And then, as you know, things changed in 1972. They had the reforms and everything that opened up for caucuses and primaries in the party, and a lot of, I don't know if you remember or not, but Mayor Daley's delegation got kicked out of the convention and got replaced by the McGovern guys. And when I'm working from a
can't remind him who was in charge.
Well, I remember going to the precincts, the alderman's offices, trying to get information on the voter printouts. They were big back then. What I got now, and they were right in front of us. A couple of those guys I found out later were guys that got kicked out of the convention. So us Democrats who were from the government, it was a chilly. It was pretty chilly. I helped volunteer for Daley in '71 a little bit, and then basically was at school for the rest of the time. I was a Students for Carter chairperson up at the University of Minnesota, and we could spend a whole podcast on just that campaign up in Minnesota if we wanted to. But the bottom line is I was the first Students for Carter chairperson in the Midwest. And remember, I was in Minnesota,
right?
So basically, after the summer came about, Senator Mondale from Minnesota was basically his VP. Well, if you got your vice president from Minnesota, you're really not needed to do anything. So they sent us to northern Wisconsin. So every Friday night for that campaign in the fall, man, I'm throwing my books on the bed. I'm hooking up with my buddy. We're going up to northern Wisconsin. Sometimes we can have people offer us rooms to stay. Most times we slept in the back of the car.
Okay.
I slept in the front. My buddy slept in the back. And then it was just off to the races again, doing our canvassing up there. And we won northern Wisconsin.
So you had the political bug early, but then you kind of lost it, though.
Manufacturing with the 12-hour, 6-day, 7-day schedule does not leave a lot of time for politics. So I really, after the election in '83, where I worked with the Harold Washington campaign, I pretty much didn't get really. I voted, of course,
right.
Talked up the Democratic Party, but I didn't get really involved politically again until 2017.
All right, very good, very interesting. We're talking to Carmen, who's going to run for the District 2 at the DeKalb County seat coming up in the next election. Now, I see here you were a precinct committee person. I was asking about that off the air. That started in 2021?
2017.
And 2017, pardon me, and then all the way up till now. Tell us, what is a precinct committee person? What do they do?
Well, we attend our monthly meetings. We engage with residents in our precinct on all issues regarding the Democratic Party, take their concerns to the meetings. We also recruit election judges. We were required to have recruit 5 of them, if you will. So it's basically getting people that want to do it. We also attend rallies and attend parades, all party functions, and basically we're elected in the primary every 2 years. I was appointed in 2017. I was assigned Cortland 4. We lived in Cortland 08, but they already had a person there. And then when it came time for the election time in Cortland 08, I ran, was elected twice in 2018, 2020. And then
So you had to run for that position.
there's 2 ways of being a precinct committee person. You can either be appointed to an open position where, like right now, we live in Sycamore 3, but the open position is in Sycamore 2 across the street. So I've been doing Sycamore 2 since.
So you don't have to have residency there, per se?
No, you can be appointed. You know,
Okay.
if you run, but for the election, you have to be in there. But for appointed, you can be anywhere.
And tell us about I'm sure you've attended the DeKalb County Board meetings. Is it, do they get a lot accomplished, or is there a lot of minutia?
They do, and they have the support among the board members to keep things rolling. I like what I saw of their meetings. I really can't fault them too much. Again, I believe that flaw would be plenty.
Right.
But that's me looking from the outside. I mean, you might have a county board member come and say, "Oh no, that guy knows what he's talking about." But I'm looking at this from a lens of what they do, the scope of their responsibilities. I'm saying, okay, you know.
Well, if you got elected in District 2 and then you already have Lampkin there as a Republican, you would kind of balance things out, I guess, if you would, right?
Well,
if you're voting straight party, but I'm assuming they don't do that.
They don't do that. Yeah, it's not. It's about as bipartisan as you're going to get. They do elect you up basis on the party, but they have worked very well together in the last few years. Like I said, the nursing home was a vote that was somewhat, divisive, if you will, but you had Republicans voting for the keeping the nursing home, you had Democrats voting to sell it. So basically, it was that division there. It really doesn't exist. They work at it too.
Well, it's a very tough issue because if you looked at it strictly from a dollars and cents point, you could say one thing. But I know I attended one of the meetings there when the residents, voiced their opinions about switching it or selling it, and it was very emotional, and it was like they were talking about their home, and they were talking about their home, and it really hit home for me there, and I think it did to you guys too.
It did, and I'm a big fan of keeping that nursing home just under public domain. I'm a big fan of selling it. I would look that would be part of my. Hopefully, I'd be assigned to that committee when I'm elected to that. I really could.
And let's talk about rural vitality and infrastructure.
Okay.
The Rural Vitality Committee. Now, do you know about that? The Rural Vitality Committee is focused on improving social and community connections through beautification projects, community gathering spaces, and civic spaces. So how is the county board involved with that? As far as you know?
Well, as far as I know, they're doing a pretty good job with it. The fact that they have that in itself, and they have line item numbers to pay for that is pretty good. I like what I saw on that part. It's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to have.
And how about staffing and salary too? I know a lot of people, like for instance, the nursing home have worked there for a long time, but if the numbers aren't there, you have to make cuts. And how would you deal with that if you were in there at the county board? How would you deal with that, Carmen?
You basically, there are state recommended, actually it's legislated how many people you have to care for the people, the residents, if you will. You don't want to go below that.
No.
And if you can improve it, you look for ways of doing that. I'm looking at ways of overall in the county, how we can reduce costs and areas where it's needed, transfer that money to there, those savings to there. That's my lens, if you will, of how I look at budgets and how I look at everything. If you went down from say 24 to 12, you're not gonna save a lot of money because it's like $85 per diem. It's not a lot.
Right.
They don't make. Nobody's gonna make money off the county, but being a county board member, they do it out of they want to volunteer for
sure.
that. So, but basically, I'm looking for ways across the board on how to reduce costs, against revenues, and putting those revenues where they're desperately needed. Again, I don't believe, I would hope someday it will, but I'm not sure if the nursing home is ever going to be a for-profit.
Yeah, okay, very good. And I should point out that you can visit the new website for the DeKalb County Nursing Home Rehab Center, so check that out. Just type in DeKalb County Nursing and Rehab. We don't have time to get into property taxes and things like that as well, because that'll bog us down there a little bit. But I wanted to bring up one other thing, though, and that is I saw this article in the Chronicle. This was back in April of this year. Hundreds marched in DeKalb to declare no kings at anti-Trump protest, and great turnout. Tell us about that day that you were there. And
well, it was a great turnout. It was the first,
in the article.
Yes, they did. It was a good article. First, it was our first No Kings Day. I thought the turnout was pretty good. And basically, you're getting. It seems like some people in government just have, forgotten that there are rights beyond the Second Amendment. And, you were, at that time, you were having people just, and you still are, in a lot of cases, having people just snatched from the street because they look like they might be illegal. That is what this is about. We're protesting that, the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. You also have Fourth Amendment rights, which are being violated. I mean, you can't have people who are just simply here working. They're going to their job.
Right, my guy was taken after 30 years.
They're 30, 20 years. They're going to their job. They may have come to this country through alternative means. Maybe they didn't stand in line. Maybe they went through another way, but they haven't committed any crimes since then. They're working. They're paying taxes. They're paying taxes. Valued members of communities. Right now the numbers vary, but they say they got like 50,000 plus detainees. How many of those are? Let's split the difference. Say there's 25,000 of those who are just working jobs, regular jobs. That's 25,000 jobs taken out. Now they're not paying any taxes. They're not making any. They're not buying anything. So, and the government has to pay. No, it's not getting done. And the government has to pay for them. That makes no sense. From an economic standpoint, my approach to the whole thing would basically be this: if you're here, came here illegally, you haven't committed any crimes, give you a path to citizenship. Pay your fine. Yeah. And move on. Naturally, if you come here to cause trouble, hey, again, then you should be deported. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case in the vast majority of the.
No, it's really said, and I know many people, because I see when I watch it, I go, this is not America. It's not America. We don't do that.
It's not.
We don't wearing the mask on the streets.
Yeah, we don't do that, and unfortunately, it's happening, and it's a trend. And as the more and more you see that happening, the No Kings rallies increase in census. This one they're predicting is going to be a huge event. I'm part of this.
Now, we're recording this, I should point out, on October 15th, I believe today
18th. This Saturday.
So people won't hear this, I'm afraid, because this will be after the fact.
At Hopkins Park.
See, this won't air until later in October.
Okay.
So we will be talking.
Well, I can assure you, it's going to be a huge turnout. I'm part of the setup committee for the DeKalb County Party, and we get to our storage shed, we get our chairs, our tents, and get everything set up, and then the people arrive. The last few rallies, I've been basically handing out the American flags for everybody, and we get a good response from it. People hold their flags and just basically say, "This is America. We're better than what we're seeing."
All right, now you're quoted here at the last rally is, "I'm basically mainly out here for the 5th and 14th Amendment."
Yes.
And due process clause. I'm ashamed I don't know what the 5th and the 14th Amendment is off the top of my head. Tell us that, Carmen.
Well, basically, the 14th is basically you have the three sections. You have the citizenship clause, which if you're born here, you're a citizen. Due process, you have to have a
right to a trial.
Right to a trial.
And to know what you're being accused of, right? Because they're picking people off the street.
Yes.
And, they showed this one I was talking about last week on the podcast, a young girl watching her mother get arrested, get deported. Because,
yeah, that's horrible. That's a shame. You got that. Yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible. I get it. There were deportations in previous administrations, but this goes beyond the pale.
Well, let me play the devil's advocate here too, because our nation is found on protesting. I mean, the Boston Tea Party can go back to things along those lines. Do you feel you're accomplishing anything, or is it, as you say, as the numbers increase, is that saying enough right there? That just more.
That is saying enough right there, and we feel we're definitely getting the attention. Now, I know there's a lot of things on air right now. Some of our friends on that don't agree with us are saying that we're we hate America.
Right.
Oh, come on. I mean, give me a break. I mean, I basically have flown the American flag in front of my porch since, God rest their souls, since 9/11. I take it down in inclement weather. I replace it when it gets frayed. I buy Union flags made in America. So I'm the last person you would think is somebody that hates America. I mean, come on.
Well, we had that time after 9/11 when all of America came together, and it was such a beautiful, but it was always seemed to last for a couple of
It
weeks.
only lasted for a little while.
But we know we can do it.
We can do it. Yes, we can.
That's the whole thing. And I think the common sense of the American people play out. And then I always talk to my wife about the checks and balances. We have checks and balances. There's a reason for that. They're obviously challenging that now by trying to load up the Supreme Court. I mean, that's a whole other story right there. But we do have checks and balances in America.
I'm always a big fan of Roosevelt's 1936 plan to
Expand the right.
but that got defeated, so you still got the 9.
And wrapping thing up, one issue I forgot, Carmen, is the Shabana. Of course, the Shabana, what's going on with the Shabana in terms of the property there, and the DeKalb County Board is very much involved with that, right? Are you're concerned about that?
What do you say, Shay? Are you talking about
the property, the land in Shabana Lake, and with the Shabana Indians, and the county board is involved with that, are they not?
Well, I mean, basically, I thought they were about the Indian rights, right?
Right.
Well, that land was stolen from them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a settled issue yet.
Yeah.
We had Judge Countryman here a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Judge Countryman represented the Shabana tribe back in the day. That was back in the early 2000s. But, they've obviously kiboshed the idea of putting a casino there. But, in terms of rights to the property, I was asking the judge about if I own a property there on Shabana Lake, I want to sell it to my son. My understanding was the tribe would have first dibs at that property.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies for the
that's
boat
correct.
place that is there and the little restaurant there. And,
Yeah, that is unfortunately, that is for those owners right now, that is correct. Out of their hands, but it's by rights, that's their land.
Well, I know, but then you don't want to turn around and screw the other people
No,
too,
you
you know
don't.
what I mean? So it's a fine line there.
It is a fine line. It's unfortunate. But
Well, I told you what AI says are the most important issues facing the DeKalb County Board. What would you say is?
I would say right now, basically, it's about the residents of DeKalb County feeling more connected to DeKalb County Board, if you will, and engagement level, which I'm honestly not seeing. I'm running the people that don't even know they were in District 2.
I don't know who my district representative is.
I think that for me, it's my time will also be spent, because I'm retired now, engaging residents of my district, and hopefully inspire some of the other county board members to do the same, is letting them know that, hey, the county board does a lot, and you should know which one you're in, and you should. My campaign slogan is basically, your voice matters. And I'm just telling people, hey, you got an opinion, let me know. I'll set that up through emails, if you will, after every month, get people to respond to me, send out flyers, and let people know that, hey, your issues are coming. You have a voice in it. You don't have to go to the meeting. You don't have to speak at the meeting. But you, as your district board representative, let me know, and I can bring that to their attention.
I just read a book called Library of Burning Books, and it's about Germany in 1933, and then it's about Paris and France in 1936, when they knew that Hitler was coming, and everybody kind of looked the other way to say, well, it's not affecting me directly. And unfortunately, I don't want to get dramatic and see the parallels here in America, but you can't turn a blind eye. You can't say, well, this isn't affecting me directly, so I'm just not going to worry about it.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I know there's certain areas, if you will, that there you basically have a real-time news desert.
Right.
Not all the people are seeing what we're seeing. Once they do, I wonder how many hearts and minds will change. So I see. What I'm seeing is, calling them news is a stretch, but You look at what Fox News covers, and you look at, say, what the other news broadcast networks cover, and there's a difference, man. There's a big difference. There's things that you would think they would be covering, and every now and then they'll surprise you, but it's only
Right, but
only really outrageous, egregious stuff. But there is a news desert out there in which I mean, we got to figure out a way of curing that, because
well, that's why you would
know what's going on.
You would use that term, as we had former Mayor Jerry Smith in here, we're former DEKALB mayor, and he described it like here locally here that we have a local news desert right now because the WLBK went away, and the Chronicle does a great job, but they can only do so much. But see, I'm afforded the situation like this. I can have you come in and talk to us for a half hour or so. We really know what Carmen is all about and what you hope to do and what your party hopes to do, and it's a great opportunity for do this. So we thank you so much for your time this morning, Carmen. Tell us again now, if they want to learn more about you, they go where now?
They go to Facebook, Polvere for District 2, or they can email me on Polvere for District 2 at gmail.com.
And I'm guessing if you don't win, you'll still stay involved.
I plan to stay involved, but I plan to win.
All right. I like that.
I mean, I don't entertain that loss thing. That's not.
All right. Carmen Polvere has been our guest running for the District 2 in the DeKalb County Board seat. Thanks to all our sponsors, and thanks to Ethan Davis, my nephew, for getting us on the air. And that's TD Ryan Unleashed News Podcast number 29. TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Zyman, your State Farm insurance agent. Scott can help you save money bundling your home and auto insurance. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Zyman and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. For delivery or pickup, call 815-758-8116 or go to pizzavilla.com. My Insurance Guys in Sycamore, family owned, local, reliable. My Insurance Guys cover Medicare to auto and everything in between. Call us in Sycamore at 815-899-0950. My Insurance Guy, business, auto, home, life, and health at myinsurancegui.com. And Eldercare Services of DeKalb County, safe, secure, and supported, helping you stay at home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org. Also brought to you by Blue Silo Orchard. Blue Silo Orchard would like to invite you to their orchard at 19387 Tower Road in Rochelle. You can find us on Facebook at Blue Silo Orchard for up-to-date hours. We now have a variety of apples and pears and along with pumpkins and even some sunflowers left. You can find us on Facebook at bluesiloorchard.com. That's bluesiloorchard.com.